How to have high energy daily as a man to 100x your progress towards your goals. This video was made for the man who's ambitious but lives in a constant state of fatigue. Textbook definition, me from 3 years ago. Just sad, mopey, low energy, tired. You can see it on my face. I was not the most energetic person ever. Not getting my haircuts done and whatnot because I just had no energy to tackle on the day. To where I'm today, where I've built the body in my dreams, smiling, happy, out in the sun on the beautiful lake of Lake Tahoe in this picture, and overall just more ready for the day. Both these two guys, they both had the same goals and drives and ambition, or at least the same amount, if not similar. It's just a matter of fact that one has so much more energy. He's actually achieving stuff, so he feels more confident. He's happy than how he was 3 years ago. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 4 pillars that are going to help you go from point A, where you are today, where you're low energy, to point B, where you want to be, where you got high energy, achieving your goals and whatnot. First off, a little bit of context. Your energy is like water in a bucket, where every single day it is going to be filled with energy, like the water in the bucket. But your habits, like your sleep and whatnot, they're like energy leaks that cause the bucket to only fill up so high. So if you're getting like 5 hours of sleep every single night, instead of it being all the way up here where you have plenty of energy to go through, it may start like down here halfway. If you go out drinking the night before, maybe you'll go down to even further, especially with like the lack of sleep. When your energy feels low, every single day, it feels like you're fighting this uphill battle where you have all the stuff you want to do, but even accomplishing one of those things sounds like the worst thing ever. You rather stay in bed, you rather get some more sleep, but you just can't go to sleep. So maybe you'll try like caffeine or something. Even that isn't really enough to get you out of the slump. However, you've had these days, I've had plenty of these days, and I'm now having this day like pretty much every single day. When your energy is high, every single day feels so exciting. You show up to work your best self. You feel like every single task that's given to you is actually manageable and achievable. It's not like how it is when you have low energy. On those days when your sleep's pretty much locked in, everything's going right, all the 4 pillars we're talking about in a second are going good. Like that's like the perfect day for you. Now, the question is, what can we do to minimize the energy leaks that we're going to talk about and maximize the water in the bucket? 4 pillars of daily high energy. I chose these ones as the main needle movers. There's plenty of other things you can do, but that would be like a 2-hour long video. So I decided to cram this into like 20, 30, 40 minutes, whether this may be, into 4 pillars. These ones will get you 80 to 90% of the way there. There's stuff that you can do, like what Andrew Huberman and Joe Rogan, whoever else, those like biohackers always talk about. But these will get you pretty much all the way there. First being daily movement, sleep, diet, and last but not least, hydration. Which, speaking of hydration, let me just take a sip right here. My voice has been pretty shot, so it might sound a little bit raspy towards the end of the video. I think it's laryngitis or some sort of sickness or something. But anyway, let's continue. Daily movement. The saying that I always go through is that energetic people expend energy and lazy people conserve. You might think like, oh, like if you lay down and nap all the time, you might have more energy, right? No. If you've experienced it where if you've taken a nap midday, you more likely not feel tired, like more tired after, especially if it was like a long nap too. Or if you have like these like lazy days where you play video games, or it's your day off from work, so you just chill around the house, you just feel like more like frumpier, like you're in your sweatpants, you feel like more tired and less energy. That's because you are conserving the energy. In order to be more energetic, like you have to be like energetic people. If you think about like the most energetic, high energy person that they're definitely exercising every single day. They have some sort of regimen going on. And whatever you make it out to be for your daily movement, make the movement be at least 15 minutes and break a sweat, right? You can't just do like, a couple push-ups, scroll on your phone. Like that's probably gonna make it even worse actually if you're just scrolling on your phone, especially like the first thing in the morning. And you wanna make it at least 15 minutes, break a sweat. That could be running, I mean, like you can see right here, this is me like post run outside in the sun, running, lifting weights, boxing, a brisk walk if you're starting to like break a sweat too, especially like incline treadmill, would highly recommend that if you have access to a gym. Just whatever it takes to get 15 minutes of movement in. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. In 15 minutes, that's like nothing. That's like the amount of time that you probably check on your phone at the very least in the morning before you get out of bed. So if you can do that, you can definitely put that into some sort of movement. And what that's gonna do daily is, like people say, oh, like you can't just like 15 minutes, that's not gonna do much. Like, no, it will. Like maybe not be that's like for like cardio for only 15 minutes, right? But that's gonna stack up over time. Because what, 7 times 15 minutes, that's what, like 105 minutes? That's almost 2 hours of movement right there daily. That's like for like the entire week. So you have like barely any right now, especially if you're having more like a sedentary job. But if you do this like every single day, that's 105 extra minutes of activity that you can be putting into your body. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna prime your body for more focus and energy because you get like the blood like pumping. If you ever gone on like a run before, you've probably felt the like endorphin rush that like breaking a sweat gets you or whatnot. And that's exactly what's gonna do for you. And if you want the best like results, if you want to like maximize what you get out of your daily movement, do it outside for the most part. My current regimen is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Sunday sometimes I'm inside doing like lifting and boxing or some sort of walking on the treadmill. But Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I'm going for a run. I'm outside. I'm getting like the sun. There's like the sun right there, and it just feels amazing. You get the fresh air, like the cool air touching your skin. It just does something for you that going inside can't do. So at least have a mix, like have some sort of outside time weekly, especially if you want to get like the best results possible. Pillar number 2 is sleep. This has been something that I've struggled with my entire life. And recently, I've been making it a whole priority to really just focus on. And I've seen a lot of gains from that already. Like most of the time when I was like having like 5 to 6 hours of sleep, I'd wake up, feeling like pretty like want to go back to bed. I was more likely to want to like skip on like this like my exercise and daily movement and whatnot. But now it's more like 6 to 7, 7.5 even on some days. And let's just say that it's just significantly improved. That right now I feel like I'm ready to attack the day. I feel more excited. Like the menial tasks, like I do fitness coaching, I make content, as you know, like making videos or posting on my story. That seems a lot more achievable now than it did back then. And that's just like all these pillars are going to stack up together, but sleep is definitely going to be a big important one. Now, duration is cool, but what you want to focus on first is going to be your consistency. Exactly like what time you wake up and what time you go to bed. You want to keep your wake up and sleep times as close as possible, even on the weekends. My rule is that, it's not really possible. Like if you want to have like a nice, like fulfilling life sometimes, like you got friends, you got a girlfriend who wants to stay up, have some fun and whatnot. You can't just forever be like a robot and go to bed and wake up at the same time, especially if you travel a lot. So of course, if you're traveling, yeah, give some leeway. But if it's like a normal like week where you're back home or it's like your normal weekly routine, just have one day dedicated to staying up later. So for me, that's Saturday. We'll go out, have some fun, bars, hopping, or like we'll like watch a movie and whatnot, or like just having a later night. But all the other nights, I make sure to keep that as strict as possible. My wake up sleep times are 9:30 p.m. and 5:30 a.m. And I just try to get as close to that as possible. What that's gonna do is when it's 9:30 or like 9 p.m., my body feels tired. If on the other hand, I wasn't strict with that, if I was like, okay, I'll just go to bed and wake up at any sort of time as long as I get like 8 hours of sleep. I mean, it could be like 7 p.m., let's say, and I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. And then it would be like 10 p.m. I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. My body just is able to like be tired and wake up around the same times. And that's another bonus about having that circadian rhythm, or like having the sunrise, like working outside and do your daily movement outside, is that when you see like the sun, that helps your body reset its like circadian rhythm and wakes you up. So when you train outside, you can kind of like prime your body to wake up around the same time. So for me, I always wake up before my alarm clock. My alarm clock is always at like 5:30, 5:45. I always wake up right before that. And I attribute that to being outside, viewing the sunlight, and just doing it over time. It may suck at first trying to be consistent with this, especially if for like years your sleep's been all like screwed up. But trust me, once you get this down and make it a habit, it becomes so much easier over time. Another point I want to make is that sleep time is not the same as time in bed. I could go on my bed right now and sit in bed and close my eyes for an hour. I'm more likely not going to fall asleep. I'm already in like this hyper energetic mood. I finished my workout. I drank some coffee. So that's not really going to count as like an hour like of sleep, right? Same thing when you go to bed. If you're on your phone for like an hour or whatnot, scrolling, and then you try to go to bed, you're not falling asleep until at least another hour or so. But you're gonna think, okay, I got like 7 hours of sleep. When in reality, you got more like 5 to 6 hours of sleep. And the best way I found to track this to ensure that you're getting a proper amount of sleep time versus time in bed is this app called Sleep Cycle. If you don't have like a Whoop or a Oura Ring or a Garmin watch or whatnot that like tracks your sleep, highly recommend getting this app. It's for free, not sponsored. It's just the one that I use, especially now that I don't have my watch on me, my Garmin watch, because I left it at a friend's house and he lives like 3 hours away. Missed the watch, still got to get it back. It's annoying to have to track my runs without it, but it's not too big of a deal for me to want to do that and make a 6 hour trip right now. Highly recommend getting the app. It's free. It tracks your sleep, not just your time in bed, but also like how much sleep you actually got. And what's good about this app is it kind of gives you a good baseline of where you're at. If you're, for say, averaging 5 hours of sleep, you're snoring a lot, there's plenty of adjustments that you can make to increase your sleep quality, which I'm going to go over in a second. The first being, and I mean, no matter what, even if your sleep's good, just don't do this. Avoid your phone an hour before bed. If you're going to go on your phone especially, at least put the grayscale mode on. What this does, and I'll show you in a second, is that you can go onto like your iPhone or Android app or like your Android phone, go to like color filters, and like it can turn off I don't know if you can see it, but it can turn off the color on your phone, and especially shown right here in the photo as well. What that's going to do is it's going to make you less inclined to want to look at your phone. Turn down the brightness too in case you do that. Basically, like the blue lights, the brightness of your phone can affect your sleep. I won't go into like the nitty gritty science stuff. I'm just here to give you the basics, right? I'm not here to overcomplicate this more than it needs to be. So no phone, an hour before bed, and also an hour after waking up too, other than like using like your Sleep Cycle app. Me, I need my phone to like record me like doing like my stories throughout the day and some content, so I do use it, but I keep it on grayscale mode for at least the first hour of the day. So I wake up, do my hydration protocol, which I'll talk about in a second, do my daily movements, go to work, and then that's when I can use my phone. And what that's going to do is, because like the first hour and the last hour of the day is the most important, is that it's not only going to help you fall asleep, but it's also going to help you wake up more too. Instead of you being like sluggish, like groggy from scrolling your phone the entire time, it helps kind of prevent that as well. Now for the other adjustments. The first one is no caffeine 8 hours before bed. I just had my last cup of coffee, well, my last and only one. I don't really drink coffee that much, but today I decided to do it for the video, just get into more like that high frequency states. But you want to avoid coffee 8 hours before bed. Right now it's 11:43 and my cutoff time is 1 p.m. just so I don't have that in my body. Because when you have caffeine in your system, it stays in there for another like 8, 6, maybe up to like 10 hours. So 8 hours, I'd say, is like a good like rule to follow, because you don't want to feel like that restlessness that you would feel if you had caffeine. A lot of people, they have like cups of coffee throughout the day until like 4 or 5. My parents have it up to like 6, 7 p.m. I'm like, how do you sleep? And so if you want to have the best sleep quality ever, avoid coffee 8 hours before your bed. Now, this is for people who snore or mouth breathe, which Sleep Cycle will tell you by recording what you're doing at nighttime. If you do like sleep talking, which could affect your sleep quality and make you feeling restless, this is going to help you boost up your deep sleep. And even if you're sleeping for 7 hours, it's going to feel like you slept for another like 30 minutes versus if you didn't have the mouth tape and nasal strips. And I just highly recommend wearing mouth tape and nasal strips. You can see me right here in this picture. I'm wearing the mouth tape. I don't wear nasal strips anymore because A, they're pretty expensive, but B, I find that I can breathe like through my nose just fine when I'm sleeping. Other people, your case, it may not be the same, but especially if you snore and mouth breathe at nights, I highly recommend investing in these. Try out the nasal strips, try out the mouth tape. The mouth tape, it's like pretty cheap online. Look up 3M micropore tape. It's like $4 on Amazon for 2 rolls. So there's really no excuse not to use it. So just buy that, give it a try, and like 10 out of 10, you're going to be able to improve your sleep quality. Now, if you live in a bright area, especially like a city where there's like flashing lights at night, or like a lot of like, or if you wake up later in the day and there's like a light coming through your window, highly recommend, if it, the reason why you get like the best sleep in hotels is because they have like curtains that you can use. Like if you ever wake up in a hotel, you're just like, oh my God, I just had the best sleep ever. I slept in, but I felt so good and refreshed. That's because like the curtains on the windows. If you're like me and you just have like blinds on your like windows, it's gonna be harder for you to get that better quality sleep because you have all this like light coming in, getting into your eyes, which again wakes you up. Which is why again I recommend for your daily movement, go outside, get some sunlight in your eyes. It helps keep you like waked up, refreshed, and whatnot. But if you don't want to get curtains, if you don't want to install that, like I don't want to install them. I live in a like a rented area, so I don't want to like mess up the wall and whatnot. I used an eye mask, which you can see right here. Same purpose. If you're a side sleeper like me, look up like the side sleeper ones. They're like designed a little bit different, so you can wear them while you sleep without like messing anything up, without like it moving out of place. And they're pretty cheap on Amazon. So again, no real reason not to at least give it a try. Warm shower. This is honestly like everyone should be doing this. I try my best to do this most nights, is take a warm shower. You would think that that's going to warm you up before bed, but it cools down your internal like core temperature. And when you want to sleep, you want to make sure like the room is nice and cool. Like I think the studies say like 68 degrees, 70 degrees. You can probably hear my AC going on right now from like the night before. Just keeping like the house nice and cool to avoid what do you call like waking up in a sweat, moving around. And so taking a warm shower, it not only cools down your body so you feel like more ready to go to bed, especially if you pair that with a nice like air conditioned room, but it relaxes your muscles too. So you can like kind of just soothe into bed, just feel comfortable, not feel like super tense. Pair that with some like stretches before bed if you go to the gym, if you like run or whatnot, and you're gonna be like good to go and ready to sleep. Because as someone who's just always used to be like super like restless in bed, I've always been like super tense. Or after like a long night of work too, like just like being on your like your laptop, doing like college studies or like my working on my business and whatnot, it kind of puts you in this like wired, productive, alert state that you don't want to be in. So the warm shower that helps kind of calm things down. And speaking of being alert and having these like wiredness to you, writing out your next day's tasks can really just put like simmer down those thoughts and put your mind more at ease. So, like if you don't know what you're gonna do the next day, at least in my experience, I've realized that I get like super anxious, like I don't know what I'm gonna do the next day, or like shoot, like I'll be like sleeping in my bed, like oh I don't know like what tasks I want to do, like I want to do get my movement in and whatnot, but I don't know what time, and it kind of just stresses me out before bed. So when I write down, here I'll just pull that right here. Every single day in my journal, the night before bed, I'll like write down exactly what I want to do right at the top, like a bunch of like 3+ tasks I want to get done. And it usually involves like what movement I'm gonna do, what's like work I need to get done, what I want to do for like sleep, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like it's like a little to-do list you can keep on yourself, so you know what needs to be done. You're always going towards your goals. And last but not least, having my last meal 2+ hours before bed has been a game changer. Recently, I started doing this as of like a week or two ago, and I've already seen like the major improvements. I used to have like my dinner like an hour before bed, and I thought that like okay, like having like a full stomach, that's good, right? Keeping me like nice and full and fulfilled for tomorrow's morning workout. What I didn't realize is that at the same time, the reason why I felt restless on top of all the other stuff I talked about is because my body was digesting this huge meal. You know, I'm having like fatty ground beef with like rice and all this different stuff that's in my stomach. Of course, I was having trouble falling asleep. And that's making my body feel all warm. So I'm like, I can't go to sleep. I can't really calm down and simmer down. So when you have your meal like 2 hours before you go to bed, at the very least, if it's gonna be a big one, keep it at 2 hours. If it's like a small snack, keep it like at the very least 1 hour away, like Greek yogurt or something like that. Next pillar, diets. I'm all about simplicity, so I mean, it's going to seem very, very simple. And that's how diet is. Everyone on social media, they want their voice heard, so they just make things to be as overcomplicated as possible. Like, oh, go on the keto diet or go on carnivore or whatnot. And it's really not going to be that overcomplicated, right? Here are the rules that you should follow, especially if you don't want to track your macros too for the rest of your life, like a bodybuilder. First off, you want to cut out as much processed food as possible. That's a no-brainer. All the stuff that's in like the shelves in the grocery store, like in the aisles, most of that is processed junk that you don't really need in your body. You want to stick to things like Greek yogurt, eggs, steak, potatoes, rice, veggies, and whatnot, ground beef, rather than like Pop Tarts and Nesquik chocolate powder for your chocolate milk and what, like all this like weird chemical stuff that's going to your body and making like having your face break out with acne or making you more bloated. We want to stick to a whole food diet as much as possible, especially if you don't want to track like your macros for the rest of your life, because there's like so much hidden calories, so much hidden junk that's in these processed foods, and we still feel super hungry after this. Another cool thing about whole foods is that you feel like super full after that too. You feel more satiated, especially with a high protein diet, which I recommend. You know, go for like 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight for your protein, and that's gonna make you feel a lot fuller than it would be if you're eating like a bunch of like Pringles chips and Takis and whatnot. I think I totally just butchered that word, Takis, Takis, whatever you call it, but I don't care. This is my video. But if you want to maximize your macro and your micronutrients, because again, recently I've really figured out how important micronutrients are when it comes to boosting your energy and making you perform better, you should follow the PCC rule. PCC, that stands for protein, carbs, and color, and that's what all your meals should have. Protein, fill up on that first. Again, like the examples I got on these pictures right here. This is a picture, like this rule works on vacation too. Like I'll go on trips and not be able to cook my own meals, and as long as I have this rule in mind, I'm pretty confident in like what I'm eating. I satiate myself with protein, as you can see here on this like weird leaf thing that they put on my steak. I had some steak. For the color, I got like bell peppers and zucchini and whatnot, onion, and then for the carb, rice. So as long as you follow this rule, you don't really have to track your macros. I would still recommend tracking your food to the point where you kind of know like how much protein is in something or how many calories this might have, and do that for like 3-4 weeks. And over time, you're just gonna get used to like knowing like, okay, you're able to like, eyeball food better. So you know like what's gonna go in your body. So you know like how much. Another thing that's gonna help you out is just give you a baseline as to how many calories, how much protein and like macros that your body actually needs. And then every now and then, if you change up your diet, like let's say like you're doing like different meals like at a different point, or you're gonna have access to different foods, just track your food again for another couple weeks. Ensure that it's enough for you. Like if you feel like your libido's going down, if your sex drive's going down, if you feel like you're not making strength gains in the muscle in like the gym, you're probably under eating. Or on the contrary, if you're gaining too much fat, maybe track again, or just take off like a slice of toast or something from your diet. And it's really that simple. You know, just play around with it. Make yourself some go-to meals with this rule. Like every single day, I'm having yogurt with my work. You know, it's simple, it's easy to make, it tastes great, and it's not gonna make me like brain dead for my work, but it's also gonna recover me from my workout before, like the daily movements. Lunch, I'll have like eggs with sourdough and spinach. Dinner time, it's pretty variable. Like if I go out for a dinner, I can have that. I'll have like a steak with some like salad or something, and then, you know, rice, potatoes, ground beef bowls. So dinner's pretty variable, but breakfast, and well, I guess you can call it breakfast, like the yogurt, And then lunch, the eggs, they're both pretty similar. Like I don't really change that very often. And that's what gives me the confidence that I don't really need to track my food that often. If I feel like I'm not making progress in the gym, I'll just like add another egg or add more sourdough or just whatnot, just changing things up and just adding on to that, not overcomplicating things because that's just, like I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. I'm just trying to have an attractive body that I feel confident in, and that's what my content's geared towards. Is people looking to build an attractive body without like living in the gym. They have their work, they have their business and whatnot, but they just don't want to live in the gym like a bodybuilder. And if that sounds like you, first link down below, book a call me one-to-one if you need some help with guidance, with building that attractive body. Maybe you need some more discipline in your life. Book a call one-to-one. We'll talk about your goals, your situation, exactly if it makes sense for us to work together. Last but not least, fourth and final pillar, hydration. As you can see right here, I'm going to hydrate real quick. Man, it's so weird. I had like laryngitis and my body didn't feel like, I didn't feel sick, but my voice just went completely mute for a couple of days, and now it's just a little bit hoarse, which is, like it's a blessing, but also it's like, man, I need my voice to record videos. But anyway, when you go to sleep, you're waking up after hours without water. So your first instinct is to chug, the water from your water bottle in hopes to hydrate yourself. But if you ever go pee after that, you notice that your pees probably fall into the red zone versus like the blue zone. The red zone, that means you're dehydrated. The blue zone, meaning you're hydrated. You get the healthy urine, as it says right here. And why it's bad if your urine is in, your pee is in the zone, is because dehydration, like that's like the sign of dehydration, that your body doesn't have enough water, enough electrolytes in it. Dehydration is gonna kill your energy. You're gonna wake up feeling brain fogged, like kind of like, it's gonna increase your appetite. So if you have an issue with that already, it's gonna increase it even more. It's gonna decrease focus, again with like the brain fog, and overall, it's gonna kill your productivity as well. And if you wanna fix this, you can't just chug plain water. You're gonna add a pinch of salt to your water, which I recommend 30 to 40 ounces of water daily. On my Instagram, every single day I'm doing this. Go check me out at Michael Performs on Instagram. Every single day in my stories, I post myself like chugging water from this water bottle right here. 30 to 40 ounces of water daily. This is a 46-ounce water bottle, so I probably drink like up to here, up to here, and I add like a pinch of salt. Like I'll take the salt first and I'll chug the water after. Otherwise, the salt just sinks to the bottom and you're not really gonna get it to the end and it's all like salty and gross. At least you can deal with that first. This is great, especially if you take creatine, because you can, like what I do is I'll take the salt and I'll take the creatine and I'll drink the water, and it keeps me consistent with the creatine because I've always had an issue being consistent with that. But when I add it onto something like my hydration protocol, it just makes it so much easier. You wanna do this first thing in the morning, before you do your daily movement, before you do your work and whatnot. Otherwise, you're just gonna lead the day with low energy and low focus and just have the symptoms of dehydration. What's gonna worsen the effect of dehydration, especially in like guys who I make my content for, who are busy, they work a lot, is that they drink coffee first thing. They wake up, they feel sluggish, they make their morning coffee and they chug it. Maybe they feel better and more alert, but that just makes them more dehydrated, like more in this like high stressed out cortisol state from having like the caffeine in their body. Since when you wake up, you're already like pretty high stressed and more alert, but then when you drink coffee, you're even more stressed and high alert. It just kind of kills your energy, kills your mood, kills your sex drive and whatnot. So avoid coffee until after your daily movement if you need it. I would recommend going on a caffeine detox for a week or two, following these protocols, the movement, the sleep, the diet, and the hydration, and just see what happens from there. Already, you're gonna notice you're just gonna like the taste of coffee more, especially if you abuse caffeine. When you stop drinking it for a while, all of a sudden, it's just like it affects you more. All I need is like a cup of coffee like every now and then. If I have a race coming up, since I run, I'll take a cup of coffee for the caffeine benefits. Or if I want to like PR on like my bench press or whatever, again, caffeine. But I don't just have it daily because I don't need to rely on it anymore. It just tastes good and I like the feeling of it. You know, if I want to go out to a cafe and get some coffee, I'll do that. But it's not like I need this every single day in order to perform and feel good. Like, no. All these four pillars help me get to the point where I don't need to rely on caffeine, where I just have like a natural high energy state to myself. Now, putting this all together, here's my daily flow that you can totally copy. I wake up every single day at 5:30 a.m. right before sunrise. I'll do my hydration protocol, the 30 to 40 ounces of water with a pinch of salt, get my daily movement in, you know, like the running, boxing, lifting, walking, whatever it is. Have some Greek yogurt after that, where it helps me recover from the movement, but not so to the point where it makes you feel like sluggish. It's non-fat Greek yogurt, so it's not like super fatty. It's not going to cause me any sort of digestive issues. It's just enough to help me get recovered. I'll do my work up until lunchtime, which lunchtime I'll do the PCC rule, you know, protein, carbs, color, usually like 4 eggs, 4 slices of sourdough, and wow, yeah, a lot of fours. 4 cups of spinach too. No real reason, just enough where it hits my macro and micro goals according to my food tracking app. Again, 1 p.m., coffee, cut off, no more after that. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like wired when I get into bed. I'll just get all restless. Do some more work, and then between the hours of 6 and 7:30, that's when I have my dinner for the most part. Again, PCC rule, cut like a hard cutoff of eating at 7:30 just to avoid having like that digestion issues when I sleep with like a full stomach. 8:30 p.m. wind down routine. These are the adjustments that I use to get better sleep. Like closing in on 8 hours after like my entire life of getting like 5 to 6. So that's a great goal that I'm really shooting for right now. And 9:30 p.m. sleeping, tracking with the Sleep Cycle app. And that's really it. Just those 4 pillars enough are going to get you to the point where you have high energy daily, where you're excited to work, where you don't feel like you're going to dread the day. You become more like positive, more excited. And all of a sudden, the goals you have in mind, you know, the money you want to make, the dream physique you want to build, it's all going to feel so much more achievable. Now, if you're anything like younger me, where you had all this drive and ambition, yet the low energy that limited you, you had all the information, but you just had none of the execution and accountability, then click the first link down below. I'm actually a coach. I help guys in your position build the dream physique, live a life full of energy, and have the discipline that matches their ambition. On our call, we'll talk about your goals, your story, and whether or not it makes sense for us to work together.